Hi friends, Jay Sennett. Welcome to another edition of Cooking with Jay here in my jazz kitchen. Hope all of you are doing well. Today I'm going to prepare for you a dish that I used to have a lot of fun making several years ago and haven't made it in a long time. And one of my dear friends, the late great Ellis Marsalis, the patriarch of the gifted Marsalis family, is from New Orleans, and I used to always talk about cooking for him. And he said, what will you cook for me? What will you cook? I said, I'm making some gumbo, man. He said, "Ah, you don't know anything about gumbo, you know." Yeah. And I'm like, well, I disagree with you there. I can cook some gumbo. Now, there are various ways, a few different ways to make gumbo. Today I'm going to make a chicken sausage gumbo. Now, in pretty much, what is gumbo? Gumbo is, it's kind of a midpoint between stew and soup. Okay, stew and soup, somewhere in the middle there. And it's a Creole Cajun tradition down in Louisiana. And traditional gumbo is usually made when you make your own stock. Okay, now if you want to put the time in to make that stock, hey, more power to you. The sausage usually used in gumbo, traditional gumbo, is andouille sausage. I'm not going to use andouille sausage today. I'm simply going to use hot Italian sausage for the gumbo. It's not connected to traditional gumbo, but that's what I'm going to use today. And some chicken breast. And I will show you how I make this. But this seasoning here, it's, you know, I put the dominant spice in here is probably smoked paprika. I also put some dried oregano, some dried thyme, garlic, and onion powders. Little crushed red pepper flakes. There's a mild bit of heat into some red pepper, cayenne pepper. Yeah, so I'm probably forgetting one spice I have in there. But some garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, little cayenne pepper, red pepper flakes, dried thyme, dried oregano, and smoked, I said smoked paprika. Okay. All right, so let's go over to the stove and we'll start putting this together here. All right. Here I diced up some chicken pieces and I seasoned the chicken with some salt and pepper and some smoked paprika. Okay. Putting this in the pan with some olive oil. All right. Put the chicken and this sausage in here. This hot sausage, which actually really isn't hot. Some mild heat on it. They call it hot, but we'll get the oil mixed around in this meat. Pretty good. And this is going to take a few. So the chicken and sausage gumbo. I first had gumbo, traditional gumbo, on my first trip down to New Orleans, which was a couple of decades ago, in the French Quarter. I can't even remember the name of the restaurant, you know. And you can find gumbo in so many places down there. And New Orleans is one of these cities where, you know, if you're a chef and you want to open up a restaurant, you really got to have yourself together to open up a restaurant in New Orleans, right? Because there are so many great restaurants down there. And particularly if you want to focus on traditional Louisiana cuisine like gumbo, right? It's you know, it's something that you really have to have yourself informed in, and there's just too many places where you can find outstanding gumbo down there. So, also, usually, I would say the gumbo, more of the gumbo down there is seafood gumbo, okay? Like shrimp and crab, or shrimp and sausage. I've seen people put scallops in their gumbo. Add a little bit more of this olive oil. lobster. They put lobster in the gumbo, scallops, shrimp, crab. And also in traditional gumbo, there's usually okra. Personally, I can't stand okra. It's one of the few vegetables that will not make it to this point right here in my mouth. You know. I don't like okra. I grew up with parents who loved it, and they made it all the time. And people would say, well, Jay, what about fried okra? All right, do you like fried okra? And I would think, well, I've tasted fried okra, but the mistake that happened to me, I saw the boiled version, the slimy boiled version of okra, and from that point on, I don't care how you made okra, I cannot eat okra. Now, have I eaten some gumbo and put down some okra? Probably, because I couldn't taste it, and I really couldn't differentiate, you know, in the stew or the soup in the gumbo. But just sitting there eating some gumbo, man, with some okra, knowingly, I don't know. I just have a hard time with it. So I'm not going to make my gumbo with okra or seafood. This is chicken and sausage. Now, what else do I put in here? Another very important part of gumbo, once this meat is done, I will create a roux. Okay? Now, what is a roux? A lot of you know what a roux is. Roux is basically butter or fat and flour. Okay? And I will stir and stir and stir and stir, and I will get it to like a golden brown color. But you have to really pay attention to when you're making your roux, because it can burn very, very quickly. And once you burn your roux, it's no good. You've got to start all over again. But you want to be extra careful, because when I take this meat out, there's some bits in there that I'm going to leave in there, because that's flavor. That's 100% flavor. Okay? So I'm going to make that roux. Be careful with the roux. Thicken it up a little bit. Then I'm going to add the Holy Trinity. Now, in Louisiana, when you're talking about the gumbo, usually if you're talking about the sofrito or the Holy Trinity, it's usually onions, celery, and carrots. Okay? But in this case, the Holy Trinity for gumbo, onions, celery, and green pepper. Okay? So some green pepper. And that's what I have right here, which will go in there after I create my roux. Celery, onion, and underneath some green pepper, diced green pepper. How's that looking right there? Yes, sir. You're starting to get some aroma in here too, from the seasoned chicken and the spicy sausage. Okay, I'm almost ready to take this out. Almost ready to take this out, because I'm going to put the meat back in there and it will continue cooking. So I'm not as concerned about it being 100% done right here. I want to rinse this pan out, get the raw meat juice out of this pan, or bowl rather. Okay. I have the raw meat in this bowl, so I'm going to take with a slotted spoon the chicken and sausage out of here. Turn this fire down a little bit. Ouch. Make sure that handle isn't hot. Now again, There's some bits and stuff at the bottom of this pan. Almost. Okay, some juice down there, so I'm going to add about 4 to 5 to 6 tablespoons of butter in here. I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil. Okay, and let this butter melt in those sauces down there. Turn this fire back up a little bit. This is to create my roux. Now another thing too, when you're creating a roux, if you have a dark pan, like I do here, it's kind of hard to see how dark your roux is getting. So you want to be very, very careful of it. Okay? Alright, so we're going to have some serious flavor happening here, folks. Alright, so I have about 4 or 5 tablespoons of butter in here with a couple of tablespoons of oil. I have about 3/4 cup of flour I'm going to add in here, but I'm going to use my wooden spoon to quiet it up a little bit. See, it's quieter, right? Not as annoying. Alright, add my flour in. It's going to thicken up. And quiet down a little bit. Yes. Now you want to stir this constantly. Okay? Let this roux simmer a little bit. And since I already had some of the juice in here from this meat, this protein, it's going to affect the color a little bit. So I'm just going to use my thyme intuition and kind of guess when my roux is ready. Usually it takes about 8 to 10 minutes or longer, depending on if you want to get your roux a little bit darker. Because I'm going to put the Holy Trinity in here. And you want to scrape up the bottom, the bits on the bottom of that pan, because again, that's flavor, folks. That is flavor. The reddish color is coming from the smoked paprika seasoning that's on this chicken. Okay. All right, I'll let it go for just another minute or so. And then what I'm going to do is add the Holy Trinity. Where is it? It is right here. Yes. So we have some onions, celery, and green pepper in this roux. Okay? Wow, that smells good. That mixed in that roux well. Onions, green pepper, and celery. The Holy Trinity, if you're talking about gumbo, out of Louisiana. And again, this herb mix or the seasoning mix, onion powder, garlic powder, the dominant flavor, probably smoked paprika. I have some dried thyme, some dried oregano, onion and garlic powder, I said that. Some red chili pepper flakes, and then some red cayenne pepper in here. Actually, that's a little bit of heat. I did put salt and pepper in here because I'm going to put salt and pepper in there. I'm also going to add some of these delicious looking tomatoes. All right. I diced up a nice beefsteak tomato. that's cooking beautifully. And the aroma, oh man, makes my mouth water. Okay. Just a few more minutes on this. And then I'm going to add the tomatoes. I'm going to add some broth. Matter of fact, make sure I have enough broth put out. Now again, in traditional New Orleans gumbo, they make their own stock. Okay. You want to make your stock, you want to get your bones, you want to roast your bones, then you want to come in and get your seasoning together and put it in a pot and boil that water and have the bone seep that flavor into your liquid. That's going to go on for a while before you have a really good stock. Okay, but in this case, I bought some broth, some organic chicken broth, so I'm using that instead of making my own stock or broth. You know, gumbo, sausage chicken gumbo on the menu tonight here out of the Jazz Kitchen. Okay. All right. So what I want to do now, I'm going to add my tomatoes. A lot of tomatoes there. Mix in. And I want to add my broth. That's some organic chicken broth. How much? I don't know. 5, 6, 7 cups. Not enough there. I'm going to add some more. And what that roux will do is slightly thicken it up a little bit. Okay? Okay. There we go. So now I'm going to add some pepper. Hearty dose of some freshly ground black pepper. And it never comes out as quickly as I would like it to. All right, come on, come on. There you go. Good healthy dose of black pepper in here. All right, add some salt. All right. Now, my seasoning mixture with garlic powder, onion powder, dried thyme, smoked paprika, dried oregano. Ooh. Get that mixed in there well. And add a little bit more of this black pepper in here. Okay. And add some of my bay leaf. Could you use dried bay leaf? Yes, you can. I prefer to use the dried leaves. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is put my meat back in here, my protein. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. My goodness gracious, ladies and gentlemen. Oh. Gumbo in the making. So what we're going to do now is over to heat on a medium heat. we're going to put this over to medium heat and let it cook low medium heat. You don't want it to cook it too fast. You want to let it simmer, man. Take its time. Give those flavors a chance to merge in with this broth, right? Gumbo, cross between stew and soup. It's my chicken sausage gumbo. I'm gonna let this cook for about half an hour, 45 minutes. You can't overcook it, just as long as you keep it on the low heat, okay? The longer you cook it, the better it's gonna taste, really. And then, what am I gonna serve this with? Rice. I'll just serve it over rice. I'll mix some rice. So, while this is cooking, I'm gonna go take a break, relax a little bit, and then we'll come back, take it out of the pot, make a nice bowl of some Jazzy J's chicken sausage gumbo with some rice. Have a great dinner. Okay, sit tight. Thanks for watching. We'll be right back, which will only seem like a second, if that. Okay? All right, stay with us. Back. See, it only felt like a second, just a split second. But actually, it was about 45 minutes. Took a break for about 45 minutes and let my gumbo really cook a little bit and simmer and get those flavors to merge. Come on, let's go over to the stove and see what we got here. All right, what we're going to do, I have some rice over here. Put some rice in this bowl. The star of the show. Ooh. We have this gumbo. Whoops. You know, I'm going to take out these bay leaves. Okay, I have two here. There's another one in here somewhere. Oh. Yes, sir. Okay. Come on back over to the counter. That's Jazzy J's chicken sausage gumbo. And the aroma in this house right now, it's pretty amazing. It's not traditional in the sense that I didn't make my own stock. I used store-bought organic broth, which is still very, very good. It's delicious. For time's sake, mostly. I didn't use traditional andouille sausage, which is more common in traditional gumbo in Louisiana. I didn't put any okra in it, which is also more common in traditional gumbo. And there's more, you know, you can mix up the protein, but it's mostly seafood down there. Shrimp, crab, lobster, scallops. But they put a lot of sausage. You can have shrimp and sausage gumbo. You can have shrimp and chicken gumbo. There's usually, I would say 80-85% of the time, just probably seafood in the gumbo, traditional gumbos down there. And you can make your broth, you know, not as thick, you know, a little bit more liquidy, depending on how much flour you put when you're making your roux. I think I have a nice consistency for my preference, right? And again, the gumbo is a cross between the stew and the soup, okay? And when you serve it over rice, I don't want a really thick broth, okay? That's my preference. But not too liquidy, okay? Not too thin in the liquid department. And there's some mild heat in here. In my seasonings, I use the smoked paprika, some of the red cayenne pepper, some red pepper flakes, and the garlic and onion powder, dried thyme, dried oregano. The smoked paprika is a dominant seasoning in there. salt and pepper, of course. Then you have green onions, the holy trinity, green onions, celery, and in their case, onions, celery, and green pepper. There we go. Not carrots, but green pepper. And I'm using sausage, hot Italian sausage, not andouille sausage, and chicken. Just diced up some chicken breast and season it, salt, pepper, and smoked paprika. And add tomatoes in there as well, all right, and some bay leaves. And you have yourself and chicken broth, right? You have yourself a very tasty gumbo. So I'm gonna go eat my gumbo. Thank you for watching this edition of Cooking with Jay. If you have any questions or comments, you can always email me to j.sennett, jae.sinnett at whrv.org. Would always love to know what you think about the show. Would also like to invite you to check out my cooking venture, my business, thecosmopolitanpalate.com, thecosmopolitanpalate.com, and see what I'm up to with my home chef business. And don't forget my jazz radio show, Sennett in Session, Monday through Thursday nights from 9 until 1, Saturday mornings 1 until 5, Sunday afternoons from 1 until 5 on WHRV FM 89.5. And I also host the R&B Chronicles, Friday nights from 7 until 8. Great soul music on the Chronicles. Until the next edition of the show, be safe, friends. I'm Jay Sennett. Be safe out there, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.